Well, welcome, everybody. This is a really special treat. I am here with Sri Sri Ravishankar, one of the great humanitarians, has been spreading peace throughout the world. Sri Sri, welcome. Welcome to the Silicon Valley. I'll start off with this. Peace seems to be your driving mantra. Tell us a little bit about how you came to peace, how you came to peace with yourself, how you came to peace with the world.
Well, peace is the basic ingredient, it's the raw material for prosperity. There is no peace, there is no prosperity, there is no happiness, there is nothing in life. In a world ridden with so many conflicts, I thought peace is the basic thing that we have to attend to. And neither at home nor in school we are taught how to calm our mind down. A calm, collective mind is the source of creativity.
You created this organization. Tell us a little bit about the art of living.
41 years back, that's when I started this art of living. And I didn't intend to start an organization. I kept sharing what I knew, and then it grew into a big organization, volunteer-based throughout the world. So the basic principle is to make life a celebration. If you observe our mind, we are anxious about the future, or we are angry about the past. So the mind vacillates between these two, and we collect a lot of garbage, a lot of stress. But nobody teaches us how to get rid of the stress. So 40 years back when we started, we said a simple technique. There is a rhythm in the breath, and there is a rhythm in our thought pattern. There is a rhythm in our emotion. If you attend to the breath, you don't have to feel helpless about your own moods. You can be master of your mood. You can just snap out of that bad mood you have when the stock markets crash, you see. When things go bad, you can just snap out of it, attending to your own breath. And then we started teaching the silence programs, how important it is to be silent in order to tap into creativity inside of you. And intuitive experiences. There is an intuitive aspect in all of us, and every business needs that intuition. So we designed about 57 different courses. It's working well.
The stresses of the future and the stresses of the past, does that mean you try to live for the present, or are you just get to your breathing, and when you get to your breathing, those stresses will calm?
You start being more in the present moment. You are more alert, you are able to plan better, your perception, observation, expression all becomes much better, much clearer. That's why we call this art of living the learning to celebrate life. There is so much diversity in the world, it can be point of contention. Usually people want everything to be in a uniform way. So here we say, learn to celebrate the diversity. Understanding this takes you to a different level altogether. That's why we call make life a celebration is our motive in art of living. And it's a volunteer-based, non-profit educational organization.
As a nonprofit, we know both nonprofits and for-profits have to make money. The way I make money is through my venture capital business. What's the main source of revenue that comes into your organization so that you can do all these amazing things that you do?
For courses, we do charge an amount for all courses according to different cities, areas, and looking at the community's affordability. From our teachings, we generate the fund, and then, of course, donation.
What's it called so our viewing audience can
Art
know?
of Living Foundation.
Oh,
Yes.
terrific.
And then we have another wing, another organization called the International Association for Human Values. There we raise funds for disasters and like whatever happened in Ukraine or other calamities when it happens. We see that the entire fund goes to that project.
That's great. The reason I've come up with trust and freedom is that I've noticed that countries that recognize trust or freedom end up succeeding, whereas countries that have corruption at the top end up failing. Singapore went from one of the poorest countries to one of the richest just based on trust. South Korea is much more effective and happy and because they are the free country. And so I have this sense that trust and freedom are what really will drive a society forward. Which do you think is more important, trust or freedom?
They go hand in hand. They go together. You have trust, then you enjoy freedom. If there is freedom, that implies there is trust. I see them two sides of the same coin.
That's great. Good. Well, then I can't change my tie. See, this is Bitcoin on the front, but it represents freedom and trust. And
This is what is important. You say trust should be inside, then you have
right.
freedom outside.
And then your freedom outside.
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe I have to make a new tie. You have brought peace to groups that were at war. How do you do it?
Trust.
And freedom. The promise of freedom.
See, freedom from their own emotions, their own past. See, people are stuck with their own mind. They hold on to their perception. They're not ready to see from a different viewpoint. They're unable to get out of their, emotional garbage. And that's why they feel stuck and they don't feel any freedom. When they have no inner freedom from their own mind, from their own emotions, we build bridges. First of all, we need to know that we understand them whenever we get into the conflict. Since your neutrality, both parties trust you. And then they get freedom from their own emotional turbulence that they have been going through. Inner freedom is essential before you can even perceive it all around you. If you are not free from your own prejudice, your own concepts, you will not be willing to see the other person's point of view. See from an unbiased mind.
So do you have a family?
Oh yeah, the whole world. And you're part
That's
of
what
it.
I was
Maybe you
thinking,
don't know.
because you really have covered a lot of territory. I have the ambition to do a lot of those interesting things, but I do have a family and they need care and nurturing. Do you have any recommendations for families?
Yeah, I have quite a few recommendations. First thing is never question the love. Don't go on asking, do you really love me? Do you love me? And those sort of things. Take it for granted. It's there. Even in rough times, you should know that love is always there. Second, I would say, don't get upset at the same time, both of you. One of you get upset, the other will try to digest it. So you take your turns to express your bad moods. And with kids, you need to treat them like your friends once they are in their teenage. We have to gently guide them to the right path. At the same time, you can't just leave them to themselves, It's a delicate thing to guide them.
Was there a moment that inspired you to this path that you've taken?
Usually people turn to something philosophical, spiritual, if they have some rough time, they have breakup in their relationship. I had none of those. I was like this from the childhood, and I had a vision, and I thought this is what's going to happen.
And at what age did you feel like, okay, this is my vision, this is where I'm going?
In fact, as a child, I was ridiculed quite a bit because I used to say in my classrooms, I have family all over the world, I have friends everywhere, I'm going here. And I would not even go to the next city in my summer vacations. And they will come to question my mother, and my mother would pull my ear, why are you telling lies? I said, well, I can't but say what I feel.
A lot of our audience is entrepreneurial. They want to start businesses, or they've already started them, or they're raising money, or they're trying to make something happen from nothing. And you have become, whether it feels that way or not, you are an extraordinarily successful entrepreneur. Do you have any interesting advice for those people who are getting started and trying to go on their missions?
Whenever you start a journey on entrepreneurship, be prepared to face challenges. Disappointment may come, but rely on your intuitive ability. If you tap into your intuition, things will fall in place for you all the time. Second is a broad mind setup. You smile more, like yours, many of them, they keep such a long face, serious face, and it looks as though they are in a constant mourning atmosphere. You see, it's not congenial for people to work in that type of atmosphere. So you have to lighten up the atmosphere and create that sense of belongingness. And when you are doing something that is useful for the people, for the planet, for the world, success is for sure. If you are focused only on yourself and how I can make more money, good, you can make money. But if your focus is only on that, your innovative spirit might be dampened.
That's really funny. I've said when they say, well, what do you look for in an entrepreneur? I say, well, I'm looking for this passion, this drive. But a lot of entrepreneurs say, hey, I'm going to make money. Or the clever ones say, I'm going to make you money. And those we want to have nothing to do with. We're interested in that vision and that future. That's the thing that drives me to invest. So maybe you become a venture partner of ours. You can sort of help us think about whether this entrepreneur has the true feeling inside them, or whether it's just on the surface they want to get some money.
Formula for all that, I would say, have some M&M.
Have some what?
M&M,
M&M. Have some M&Ms.
It's not the chocolate. It says meditation and meals together. It's a few minutes of everyone sitting together, meditation. And if you're not too much on meals, you can have music, meditation and music together. These things can create an atmosphere which is very congenial for creativity, productivity to come up.
So if it's music, do you dance?
Yeah, you can dance. Yeah.
Maybe we should dance.
Sing and dance, yeah. I consider the whole life is a dance. Don't lift both your legs up, that's it.
We have a credo over at Draper University, and one of them says, I will pursue fairness, openness, health, and fun with all that I encounter, mostly fun, and we have to dance. So somehow we've come to the same conclusion that in order to become everything you're meant to be, you've got to have some fun. It's got to be interesting.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about politics? How do you feel about government? Politics in the media, it can drown out a lot of this thought process, a lot of the peace. What do you think about that? Is there something we can do as a society to sort of bring it all together and create a more peaceful world?
I wish many people have the same thought, like you are having this question, what we can do about it. Politics per se, I don't consider it an untouchable thing, it's a bad thing. But the people there makes the difference. Whether it's business or politics or even spirituality, it all depends on the person. No? The person has no ethics, no trust. You see the disaster that happens. And if they don't believe in the oneness of mankind, then they can stifle anything. In business, so many corporations, they've gone bust, and there are people who have taken a ride on the trust of the people they have had in the business. Same with the politicians too. One is the people should be more aware what they want and not just play to the tune of someone saying something which is unpractical. Second is ethics among the politicians. Politics is not the business for them. It should not be considered as business, but as a service to humanity. It all boils down to mental health, right type of mind, attitude in the leadership. One more thing I would like to add. In democracy, you need a strong opposition as well.
You need a strong opposition. So that a good solution can come from the two opposing forces.
Two forces.
Like our heroes and villains out there. If you were physically attacked, how would you respond?
You don't think about it beforehand. You will listen, spontaneously act at the time what comes to you. There'll be inner defense that takes over. You should just let it take over at that time. And it has happened to me in the past. Just someone came and said, oh, you're satanic and this and that. And I just looked at him, I said, just wait. And that's it. And he became quiet. And tears started rolling in that person's eyes. And that whole animosity vanishes. See, one thing we forget, we convey more through our vibrations. If we are peaceful inside us, we can impact that on the other person as well. And I've seen this happening many a times. When I first met the FARC rebels. In the beginning, they didn't want to talk to me at all. But then they didn't want to leave me. Just a couple of hours we sat with them and we talked to them. I said, I understand them. That they are not there to just have fun in the jungles, but fighting a guerrilla war. They are fighting for social justice, I told them, I understand you, but what I don't approve of them is the violence that they're doing. 20 million people are homeless and 7 million people are killed. I said, this is not the right thing to do. Why don't they accept the principle of non-violence? On the third day, they said yes, and they agreed. They came to the press conference with me and they announced that we are going to accept the Gandhian principle of non-violence.
Fantastic. Probably the wisest man I've ever met. You feel that you're a man who's just slowly but surely come to these conclusions as your world has evolved.
In fact, I have no conclusions at all. I don't conclude anything.
Oh.
I just let life be and take over, do whatever happens. We all have a role to play, so we just play our role, and then one day the curtain comes down, and that's it.
Who would like to ask a question? I'll bring the mic over to you.
Sri Sri and Tim, thank you for a very compelling session. I have a question. You mentioned about being in the present. Can you share maybe a couple of techniques to ground an individual in being in present, besides meditation, of course? I kind of knew that was coming.
When you are in deep love with something, then you are in the present moment. When you are appreciating something, you are in the present moment. And the moments of wow. So beauty can keep you in the present moment. Being surprised about something that you never expected can keep you in the present moment. And I tell you, anger can also keep you in the present moment. Not just simmering anger, but full-blown anger also keep you in the present moment. But I don't think you want to keep that. Creativity and music can also keep you in the present moment. All these other things, they're all extracting energy from you, but in meditation you end up gaining.
What has been the best moment in your life?
Every moment.
Every moment.
This moment.
I just noticed something. You wear socks and sandals. My wife gives me so much trouble because I wear socks and sandals. Now I'm totally absolved, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, I just want everybody to know that that's the style from now on.
I have a question about science. You're a physicist. What do you see as the connection between mindfulness and physics, maybe quantum physics?
Quantum physics and the science of consciousness, they resonate. It's almost the same. When Professor Doer, one of the top nuclear scientists, visited our campus in Bangalore, he said, when I talk about quantum physics, people think that I'm talking about the Buddhism or Vedanta philosophy. I can't but agree with him. It's absolutely same. Never in the history, the Oriental philosophy and science were in loggerheads because the criteria was the same. First you know and then you believe. They never say you believe and one day you will know. No. Whatever you know, only that you believe. This is the methodology. Whereas in the Occident, it is the different pedagogy. In Occident, it is said, first you believe, one day you will know. That's why science and religion were in conflict in the Middle East and the West throughout the history, but never once in the East. No scientists were ever persecuted there because the methodology was the same. I want to believe, then first experience. You don't have to believe this water is cool or hot. Why don't you taste it? Even spirituality in the Orient goes with first study of the 5 elements of nature. Then comes the mind, time also, then space. All these are part of elements, is counted as elements. So including your consciousness. So it's a subjective analysis study and objective study where theory of relativity very well fits in there.
I'm going to take that a little farther. I was out with our students looking at the stars. We were out in the middle of nowhere looking up there, and it reminded me of when I was a little kid looking up at the stars. And my question was, does it end? Or if it doesn't end, does it go on forever? And then there's a corollary to that. Is it alive? Does it go on forever? And that kind of is a little scary to think about. Or does it end? Which is even more scary to think about.
This quest for origin has always been there in the human psyche. Where did this come from? Here, because we are taught to think linear, I ask a question. Which is the beginning point of a tennis ball, you tell me? Where does the tennis ball begin? Either you can say it doesn't have a beginning or doesn't have an end. A circle is a circle and it doesn't have a beginning. Every point is a beginning and is an end in itself. So this, I would say, is a spherical thinking.
And you're comfortable in that.
Very
feeling.
comfortable.
Good, I'll have to get my head around that one.